Hello and welcome to Restoring Eden. This is Subin and Sini.
Hello. Okay, this is so. We haven't done this for a year, and this is awkward again. But we plan to do this on a regular basis again, and we had a very busy year. Happy New Year to everyone listening.
Happy 2022.
Yes, we've had a lot of stuff happening last year by God's grace. Yeah, we've had a new job, we've had a baby, we've had a new house, and things been so have been really busy for us. And
Really exciting
yes, and busy, and
and tiring.
yes, and sleepless, and but clearly we sound happy at least. Yes, God has been really kind to us and blessed us so amazingly last year. Um, and by saying that, I don't mean to say that He's just poured all these amazing materialistic
Blessings.
blessings in our life, and right when we needed them. I mean, we had to wait a long time when we wanted them, but then we just gave up. And then when we really needed them, He provided. And I
Amen.
guess that's how God works, yeah. So, we've got something, the topic for today is something that we've thought of in relation to how our lives have been and what we have learned from that and what we want to share with all our listeners. Yeah, and since it's the new year, we're going to talk about new stuff, new things, and everything new.
New things excite everyone. I was really excited when we found out that we were pregnant with our second child. It had been 4 years since our first time when we became parents. So to relearn all the things, to figure out where to get diapers from, and figure out what to do here and what size the baby is. That's all an exciting process. It gives you that sense of wonder again in your life. I was confused that the babies were so small, and I think that is something that we generally share with everyone. When something is new, we are in a new phase. We find the entire thrill of it. But the reality is, there's often a lot of confusion. There's a lot of unknown that we step into, and it's not as comfortable or not as amazing as you wish it is. Like, when we talk about getting something new, all of us might think and say, oh, it's like going on a roller coaster. But many times it feels like, you're walking into a dark cave, and you're trying to figure out where things go and how things are. Um, like, if you're going to get a new job, you are not sure about what your new colleagues are going to be like, or how the job requirements are different from what you've been doing so far. You find all of this a bit alienating, and you wonder and you struggle for some time to grasp on the reality of the entire stuff. I remember this funny incident, like, when Sini was going through the labor. There was like, my only job was provide her water to drink and scream as loud as possible, breathe. And in this new thing, there's this entire place of perseverance and endurance that will eventually result in something new.
So the thing about having something new in your life is like Subin just said. There's the thrill, there's the excitement, all of these things are there, but at the same time, there's this preparation that happens. So, like he said, when we were in the labor room, he would say, "Breathe and breathe," and and I'm like, "Oh my gosh, you have it so easy," and I'm the one going through this pain. And you go through the entire agony of delivery, and I have to say this time it was much better than my first experience with this. But yeah, that is about childbirth. But also when you look for a home for yourself, for your family, there are just especially if you live in Germany. I mean, if you know Germans, they love paperwork, and if you live in Germany after like around 5 years, and especially if if you're an Indian, you are like the worst contrast that you can have, because you're like you just have so much paperwork here. You just have to just get as much of just a lot of bureaucracy here. Yeah, even for vaccination, that's why it's so slow here, because there's so much of bureaucracy here. But okay, coming back to the point. So what I wanted to say was, whatever new things happen in our lives, there's always a period of preparation. There's always a period of waiting before that. I remember the number of times, the number of homes we've seen, and I'm sure anyone who has looked for a home would say this, that you look for your house, and then that doesn't work out, and this doesn't work out, and then something else doesn't work out, and you just suddenly think, okay, maybe nothing's going to work out, and all of a sudden things start actually working out, and you're just so surprised. But the whole we had around 4-5 months of just paperwork, and even every single month you think, oh, is this going to work out, is this not going to work out, and eventually you move into the house, and then you realize, oh, okay, this was what we were looking for. And
but then the major part of the work has just started, like
yeah,
you have to get the house to become a home, and you have like another set of paperwork, another set of things to build, and so on.
so what we mean to say by this is, something new is not always spontaneous. Giving birth to a child is not spontaneous. You wait for months. You go through this process of pregnancy, and then the labor comes to it. If you look for a house, that there's a lot of things that happen. So we are just saying things based on what happened in our lives and what we went through in 2021. Yeah, so like those Instagram reels, where it says, let me skip to the good part, that just doesn't happen. You can't just skip to the good part. You have to go through the entire painful task of preparing. And there are things that you have to let go. There's comfort that you have to let go of. There's a security sense that the old stuff gave you that you have to let go. And I was quite happy with my pregnancy, and I was like, wow, I'm just enjoying this. And then the 9th month comes, and you're like, oh my gosh. Yeah, there's a lot of things that you have to let go of while you wait, till God gives you that point where whatever is to be unraveled comes before you. Yeah, so there are also in life, these are the examples that we can give, but there's also a spiritual aspect to this, which we will get into. So we want to talk about everything that God gives us is they are gifts to us. They are His gifts. It has nothing to do with who we are and what we've done and anything of that sort. It has everything to do with who He is and the giver that He is. So we're going to talk about that in a little more detail now.
In the Bible, in James chapter 5, verse 11, it says, "As you know, we count as blessed those who have persevered. You have heard of Job's perseverance and have seen what the Lord finally brought about. The Lord is full of compassion and mercy." Like, when you guys think of that, it's kind of really tragic Job story, and yet the Bible says the Lord is full of compassion and mercy. Let's put it another way. We recently had a Christmas, and during Christmas, we celebrate Advent, and in the church as well as home. So, what we do at home is also we have gifts for Zach every day. We hang it on a thread, and he gets to open a new gift each day, and it's an amazing thing. So he wakes up every day, he asks, "Can I go open my gifts?" You say, "Yes, go ahead." And he runs into the living room, turns the lights on, takes out that day's gift, and he comes back to us saying, "Let's open it. I want to see what's in it. Let's do it together." And he would open it up with us to explore. And this time we got him all science stuff because he's into science at the moment. And it's exciting to see our son discover stuff, discover how magnifying lens work, or discover how oil and water don't mix together, or how whirlpools and cyclones work. It's amazing to do that. The point is, as a parent, I find it extremely exciting to participate with him in discovering the gift. I know it's me who packed it, I know it is me who wrapped it, but still, I find it good that he decides to celebrate, decides to explore and use the gift with me, and that helps us build our relationship. Being with my son, being a part of his life. Everything God gives us is a gift. You see, in my case with my son, I do not have to do the Advent thing. I do not have to give him gifts every day. Or I do not even have to make this season something special. You could just say to him, "We do not celebrate such and such festival," or in this manner. Yet we choose to because we want to. There's a difference between what a reward is and what a gift is. And most of the time, in our life, we have often thought of reward and gift to be quite similar or just the same thing. A reward is something that you get for doing something, as an encouragement, or as a gratitude, or as an honor. And a gift is something that you're given freely because the giver decides to. And that's the thing about the gift. The gift is absolutely dependent on the giver, and it cannot be independent from the giver. Like, we have got gifts this year from friends that have just amazed us. Have you got a gift that you said, "Wow, that's really expensive. Why did you have to give me this?" You see, that's because the giver decides to give you an expensive gift. So the person who gives you the gift gives you a gift on basis of two rough things. One, the relationship that they have with you, and two, what they wish to give. You would not give $100, euro, pound, whatever gift card to someone you met on the bus, unless under the Lord told you in a specific sense. But generally, you do not. But you wouldn't mind doing that to your family because they're your family. That's my point. And in the same way, the gifts that God has given us are not a reward. They are His pleasure and His goodness to our life. And that has nothing to do with us. See, that's the point that we are trying to bring in here. So that you and I, and you and us, we can together look at this topic and say, how is this gift and the giver related?
So I think we've made our point clear till now, but now we're just going to like sum up everything. Sum up as in just start from an empty canvas. So when we are born into this world, we basically come with nothing. And we tend to believe that that we've been given or we own a lot of things with time, because like my child, he's got a lot of toys, and sometimes I think it's too much, and you just think, okay, now the second one's here, and the first one just basically hands over his old toys to the younger one. And Zach has been very clear about some things where he says, this set of toys belongs to me and no one else can play with it, and this set I can give it to my brother. So and he has the sense of ownership over his toys, yeah. And that is exactly how we are. Like, we come into this world, we've been given we have parents, and we end up in a world. I'm just talking about the ideal situation. There are so many other variations of this perfect scenario, but for most of our audience, I guess I can say, we are born into a family, and we are raised in a fairly okay situation, and life just you grow up, and things come into your life, and you just have the sense of your dreams coming true. Depends on what you dream about. And yeah, I mean I don't think unicorns really happen, but okay, I don't know if kids are listening to this, but yeah, anyhow, so what happens is a lot of things happen to us, and a lot of things are received into these hands, and we just think we own all of this. And then as life goes, we study and we get a degree, and again we own that, and then we own a new job and a first job, and then we own a family, or then we may or may not own children, and then we maybe own a house, or maybe own a car. I am just going. I am just talking about just basic, life standards. These are not the best standards. There can be things that are better than this. There can be things that are worse than this. But anyhow, every person believes their relationships are owned by themselves, as in. And one of the things that I find very disturbing is that we believe that we own our children, we have ownership over our children. This whole podcast is about about the fact that this ownership, is that even real? That is the thought process that we are going through these days, especially after we moved into this new place, where you start thinking, suddenly you have this home, and suddenly you have a family to call your own, and you just think, oh wow, I've got like a few things going on now. You have a job, and you think, wow, I've got a job now, and you just think you have all these things, and somewhere you tend to put God on the passenger seat, and you're like, yeah, you can be there, but we are
Yeah,
doing.
just warn me in case of trouble.
Yeah, just in case of emergency button, you're there. And it happens so often, when we receive something new, or at least that's what I had initially. I didn't know where to place my thoughts on. I'm like, I don't know. This is the first time that Subin and I have owned a home or something. So for us, it is just overwhelming, the entire thought process, and it's something that we never um, thought of. At this scale, is not something that we thought of. So for us, this was really overwhelming, and we were like, I don't know if this fits in, but yeah, let's just stop ranting and get to the point. The point is, where do we place God in all of this, and why did God give us all of this? That's a question that I kept asking myself. Why does God have to give us this? And then you shift into this place where you're like, but I own all of this. And lately, God has been teaching us that, you know what, you came empty handed. You just believe that you have all of this in your hands when you actually don't. This is just a perspective where you look at everything that you think you own and say, okay, I own my children, I own this house, I own my cars, or I own my job, but it's all just a mirage. It's You think it's there, but it's actually not. God places these things into our empty hands, and He's free to take them if and when He wants to. And but my point is that we recently visited one of our friends' homes, and he played this song. It's something that we've heard long time ago, like I think 20 years back. This world is not our home, and by Jim Reeves. And if you've heard that song, this would make sense in connection to what we are saying now. All of these things that God gives us into our hands, they are just His gifts, and gifts mean something that He gives out of His abundance, in His time, in the way He wants to give. And I just want to read a verse from Ecclesiastes chapter 3, verse 1 to 5. And it says, "To everything there is a season, a time for every purpose under heaven, a time to be born and a time to die, a time to plant and a time to pluck what is planted, a time to kill and a time to heal, a time to break down and a time to build up, a time to weep and a time to laugh, a time to mourn and a time to dance, a time to cast away stones and a time to gather stones, a time to embrace and a time to refrain from embracing." So in our lives, there is a season, there is a time for everything. And in that particular season, there are things that God places in our empty hands. And for this period of time, and it may be short, it may be long, it may be for your entire lifetime, but whatever it is, they are just placed in your hands, and you have been made stewards of this great responsibility that God places in your life. And we can't really deal with all of these things that God has placed in our hands without the giver, because if you're going to do that, we probably might end up using it's like using a dishwasher to store vessels, like most of the Asian families do, because you have a dishwasher, but then you don't use it because for some reason you don't use it, and you instead store your pans and you store everything in it because you think it's another cupboard. So that's the same way. So with your kids, if you think you own them, you end up dealing with them the way you think is appropriate, and that can depend on the way you're raised up, the kind of wounds that you already have in your heart, the kind of a lot of things um, yeah. Anyway, so the point is, when we raise children, or when we steward our home, when we steward a vehicle that God has given us, or our job, you have to come to a place where you realize that these are actually not mine. These belong to someone. In fact, the breath that we take in, they don't belong. Not a single breath belongs to us. Everything that we are belongs to God. And the Bible clearly says, in Him we have our being. And when we think of life that way, when we look at life that way, it takes a lot of strain off our shoulders and helps us put it in God's hand, helps us steward it the right way, helps us raise the children He has given us the right way, helps us deal with loss the right way, and helps us trust God the right way, because then you know that, like we said in the beginning, God never, we've always asked God, like, why aren't we finding a good house? We want a house, and but God actually gave us a house when we needed it desperately. And at that time, one of the things that I prayed to God was, Lord, I have a few wishes. We have a few wishes, but I didn't really, point it out and say, yeah, I want that, I want this, and I want that, and I want exactly that. No, I just told God that we need one now. It is a need right now, and I think God knew that we needed it, and He gave us a home, and I'm so thankful to God for that, because He did not deal with us like an ATM machine. He did not let us see Him that way as well. He dealt with us like a father, and He gave us grace through every struggle that was happening with the bureaucracy. He helped us after we moved in. We had to let go of a lot of emotional bonds that we had, and He helped us deal with all of that. He helped us settle our hearts, in Him, and rest in Him. He let our baby come in the right time, and even when all this looks very wonderful and beautiful, there's been a lot of tears that have gone into this. And I don't say that because our tears have gone into this, because we have endured this pain, or because we have persevered, we have this beautiful reward. No. These are not rewards. These are just gifts, or because His will placed it in our empty hands, which are actually still empty.
Amen.
And we are just passers-by. We pass by on this earth, and one day we'll have to give it all up. And during this time that we have a chance, the opportunity, we can pray, and we can ask God to help us be good stewards at what He has gifted us with.
Yeah, adding on to what Sini was saying, I'm not sure if any of you know the Desert Song by Brooke Fraser and co-writer Jill McCloughley. This is the song that says, it's a beautiful line. It says, "This is my prayer in the battle when triumph is still on its way. I'm a conqueror and co-heir with Christ, so firm on His promises stand." And towards the last line of this song, it says, "And this is my prayer in the harvest, when favor and providence flow. I know I'm filled to be emptied again. The seed I have received, I will sow." This song was written by Jill during a time she went through a lot of crisis. She had just lost a baby at the 23rd week of pregnancy, and she had written this and that saying, "I know that everything that God gives me is just temporary. I know I'm being filled, but I know I would be empty again." And that's the thing. And you would find this as a season where God empties your hand, but at the same time, He fills your spirit. This is how God works. Those seasons that we go through, those we wish did not exist or wish it happened other way, they will be the seasons that would mark what kind of man and woman of God you become. He decides to shape us through our gifts as well as our empty hands. Because He's not passionately caring about which car you drive or which house you have, but He cares about who His son is and who His daughter is. He cares about how you see Him as a dad and how you see Him as your eternal treasure. And isn't that just lovely? I mean, it is not the nicest and the sweetest thing to say, but it is the truth. In Romans 5, it says, from verse 1, therefore, since we have been justified through faith, you and me, brothers, we have peace with God through our Lord Jesus Christ. Through Him, we have gained access by faith into this grace in which we stand. And we boast in the hope of glory of God. Not only so, but we glory in our sufferings. Wow. Because we know that this suffering produces perseverance. The perseverance, character. And character, hope. And hope does not put us to shame. Because God's love has been poured into our hearts through the Holy Spirit who has been given to us. That is the promise that we stand on. That is the hope that we anchor on to. That yes, He is building in us a character. He's building in us something that does not be shaken. Christmas was a time we looked at hope very intensively in many of the churches, and hope rested on joy was said for mankind because of Jesus Christ. Till then, no one could say anything about hope, but just as a wish. But hope became real in Christ, and in Christmas and in Easter, hope became very much flesh, very much real, and became part of us, and we enjoy and endure and live and persevere, and we know that this hope is building in us. And that's what we are trying to bring out here and say, hey, this is the hope that we should focus on. The next time we would like to continue on with this topic and ponder together on how prayer plays a role in this. And we want to see how the Bible encourages us to pray, at the same time teaches us how to pray. Thank you all for listening to Restoring Eden. This is Subin and Sini saying goodbye.
Goodbye.